Hey guys, Pyker here, and welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Reach. Something a little new this episode. I decided to build another space plane and with something that could possibly hold cargo for us. And I was going to send up multiple satellites to go and send off to all the rest or some more of the planets in the Kerbal solar system, but I ended up deciding against it, and I already had the plane in orbit. Um, to do such things as these, and I ended up saying nay to it. I didn't like the design of the satellites, and I didn't want to just like, you know, not show you guys that I actually kind of do stuff off camera to try to get episodes ready. But I figured I'd show you guys the reentry in 4 times normal speed. You guys could see I was flapping some of my air brakes there to slow down, just so we didn't overshoot the space center, which those things will slow you down quite alarmingly quick. I actually was getting to the point where I was getting so much G's that like the nose of the space plane was like tweaking left and right, and kind of looked almost like a snake kind of going through the atmosphere. It was actually kind of interesting to watch. But as you guys can see, yeah, see again, if you do the time acceleration, it just screws with the physics, and it's sometimes hilariously entertaining. And other times it's not. But here we are coming in for a landing. It turns out that I ended up coming in a little too slow, got a little wonky, and then decided to land very, very poorly, yet somehow save both Karbonites in the process. I have no idea how I managed to pull that off. I really don't. Um, I came in way too slow, and that was a good butt clencher right there to to say the least. But these were the satellites. They have very little xenon, very little battery life, and they're small. And I was gonna launch them from the God, I can't think right now. I was gonna launch them from around Kerbin orbit, but I figured it was gonna take way too long to do that. So I figured, to hell with it. We'll build separate rockets for all these probes that I want to send to all these planets. So that's what we're gonna do next. I'm gonna fade to that part. All right, guys, we're on the launch pad, and did you like that fade? Woo! But anyways, we have our satellite, our new satellite, ready to go. For the most part, I did add an alarm on our Kerbal alarm clock for our transfer window to Moho. It's actually the closest transfer window we have. It's only 61 days out, which is still quite a bit away, but that'll give us enough time to set up to go to Minmus and start getting some of the biomes figured out over at Minmus, and getting a space lab out there and everything. Um, and getting the last biome on the moon done, which is, I think, the poles. I think that's the last thing we have to do. And we got to do that, and then we got to bring those guys back, bring all that science back, and then we got to do it again with Minmus, which will be a little bit more difficult because obviously Minmus is a little cocked orbit-wise around Kerbin, and it's a little bit further away. So that might take a little extra time than it would for the moon. But we're gonna just go ahead and launch at least maybe 1 or 2 of these guys into orbit right now. And I designed this rocket, I tested it, and it is perfect. It is so perfect. And now that I said that, this is probably going to explode in the atmosphere, but I tested it once just to see if it can get into orbit, and it can. So this is basically just boils down to my piloting abilities, which we all know how shaky those can be. All right, let's just get this thing going, get it up into a nice 200 kilometer parking orbit around Kerbin. I'm gonna get as many satellites up there and into a parking orbit just to have them. So whenever a transfer window comes up, we can, easily select one of our satellites that need to go to wherever, and we can send our satellites away. I think we're gonna go ahead and just start slightly tipping over here. By the way, these solid rocket boosters are the Thor 5s, I think they are. We're actually going to turn the SAS off. It seems to help whenever we're going through the atmosphere at this quick of a pace. But these are the Thor 5 solid rocket boosters, and I also have them toned down, so the thrust limiter is at 49.5. It's firing just at about 50%. Oh, shiting, piloting. Oh no, oh no, no, oh no, oh no. Okay, I got it. 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 Nope. 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 Stop. Stop doing that. Go back where I asked you to. All right, that works. I'll take it. I will take that. Remember, we gotta do one cartwheel. That's the best way to ensure that you get into orbit. So anybody that is learning on how to launch rockets and get them into orbit, you have to do a cartwheel before you get into orbit. It's just like a rite of passage. It almost helps the trajectory a little bit. Um, it doesn't slow you down at all, and it doesn't throw off your orbit that you were trying to get into at any point in time. All right, let's get those solid rocket boosters away from us. Let's see what our Apoaps is at. 76. Yeah, that little cartwheel kind of didn't really do damage, but it didn't help us either. When I test ran this, our Apoaps at the end of our solid rocket boosters was, I think it was like almost 180 kilometers. So yeah, that cartwheel knocked off about 100 kilometers worth of height in our Apoaps. Uh, so again, make sure you do them because it's apparently a good idea. I don't know what I'm saying. Just don't mind me, guys. We're just gonna get this thing into an orbit. Hopefully, relatively nice orbit. Might have to. It's going to be interesting. I haven't used the Kerbal alarm clock. All I'm hoping is that it pauses. I have it set up so it'll pause my game, and basically I'm going to try and use it to. I have it set for 2 hours before the transfer window, so I can set up a maneuver node, and I'm hoping that within that 2 hour time frame, in game, 2 hour in game hours, anyways. I'm hoping that within that time frame, I'll be able to actually set up a maneuver node to get to the planets that I have alarms set for. So I'm hoping that works. I don't really know. I've never done it that way before. I've always kind of done it by eye, which is probably not the best way to do things, but that's how I used to do it. That's how I always got to Duna. Is I would wait until the transfer window or the right angles of Kerbin and Duna were orbiting the sun, and I would attempt to set up a maneuver node to encounter Duna. So I'm hoping that this alarm clock will actually alleviate some of the difficulty in doing that. But like I said, we're just going to get this guy into a parking orbit. I actually need to take a look here. Yeah, go back. Okay, what are we at? Okay, that's not much. All right, let's keep shooting this up. We'll get this guy up to about 200 kilometers. We have a bunch of stuff we can do in the meantime while we're waiting for transfer windows. Like I said, we can go to Minmus and get that all situated and whatnot, and we can also, start getting all the biomes and some of the science from Minmus. I also want to start building a space station around Kerbin, since we haven't even done that, and we're, what, 20 some odd episodes in? I think we're 23 episodes. I think this is episode 23. We're 23 episodes in, and I still don't have a space station, which a space station is it's fun to build. It's a fun thing to build. Essentially, you don't really need them at all, honestly, but they're just really fun to build. So we're gonna definitely do that, and we're gonna definitely do it with the OKS and MKS modules. But I also want to gain some more science, mainly to unlock some more of the parts for the MKS and OKS mod. Because right now we do not have all of the parts we need, I believe. I could be wrong, and I am firing into the complete opposite direction because I'm talking and not paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm really good at that. All right, let's get these fairings out of here. We'll do that once we hit the sun, so we can actually see how nice and pretty it is. Actually, we can get rid of the fairings now, because then they'll actually kind of go back into the atmosphere. What, 42? Yeah, they should burn up in the atmosphere. Let's do that. So we'll just stop. I don't have RCS on this rocket, which was a dumb idea, I might add, but I didn't really think about it. So it seems to always turn out to be. I didn't really think about it. I never think ahead for some reason, which is a terrible thing whenever you're planning on going interplanetary in, in Kerbal's space program. So think ahead, guys. There's another lesson for you. Okay, so lesson number 1, you got to do cartwheels before you go into orbit. Lesson number 2, don't plan ahead, because it's unnecessary. It really is. The worst advice ever. All right. Alright, well, we're not going to wait until we get into the sun because I want to bring my Apple apps up now. So we'll just get rid of these fairings like so. Well, now we can wait. Now we can burn and get our Apple apps up. Or Perry apps, sorry. Our Paro key. I don't know if that's the actual correct term for it, but I said it. I think that's a good enough orbit. Not really too worried about getting it, super on point here. But let me run over a couple things on this probe with you guys, since now the sun is deciding to grace us with its presence. Basically, okay, now the sun has decided to not grace us with its presence. Weird. Did you guys see that? There was like, like the sun, never mind, whatever. All right. Well, we've got an ass ton of batteries on this satellite. If you guys can see, there's 4 of these separate, guys. These each hold 150 each. There's 2 rows of them. So there's 8 total, and then there's a bunch of these Z200 rechargeable battery packs. And I also slapped on these KW Rocketry battery banks, which are 600. We also have our SCANsat multispectral sensor, and we also have a mystery goo just for the added science that we can gain. I also have a temperature gauge and a barometer in case we do decide to do any atmospheric braking, which I don't know if we'll actually be able to use that, but if we do, we can actually use a barometer and get some science from it. There are 5 ion engines on this thing. I figured one would kind of take too long to try to do some transfers. I'm sure 5 isn't going to do that much better, but both of these are one of these engines puts out 2 kilonewtons of thrust, so 5 of them, that's 10 kilonewtons of thrust, so it's a little bit more, or it's a little bit better, I think. So I went with doing that because I figured, what's wrong? What's wrong with that? So anyways, that's our satellite right now. We are in a beautiful parking orbit, and I'm going to actually take a screenshot of that because I like that screenshot. Anyways, let's go back down to the, oh, I keep pressing buttons. Let's go back down to the Space Center, and we are going to launch another satellite. It's pretty much the exact same satellite, and we'll get it into a parking orbit as well. I want to try to get as many satellites up into a Kerbin orbit as possible. Pretty much as many as there are planets is the shot here. I don't actually know how many planets there are. Shut up. There's Moho, there's Duna, there's Eve, there's Jewel, and then there's like 2 or 3 more, I think. But those are the ones that I can remember off the top of my head. Okay, let's launch this guy again. That actually worked out nicely. Hopefully this time we won't do a cartwheel in lower orbit. That would be well, actually no, we have to do a cartwheel, remember? That's one of the things that we got to do is a cartwheel. It's just a necessity, I guess. All right. Let's turn on our SAS, even though it doesn't really do us any good at the beginning of this launch, but might as well have it, right? Okay, let's see if we can try this again with a little bit more success. So we'll have a total of 3 satellites in orbit after this one gets into orbit. So we'll have a Duna probe, a probe that I designed to land on the surface of Duna. I might actually send one of these satellites to Duna for the SCANsat stuff. And then I'm definitely going to send one to Moho because that's one of the transfer windows that's coming up. And I want to go to Eve and I want to go to Jewel. So we need like 5 or 6 satellites, roughly, in orbit around Kerbin. Would be nice. We're going to start trying to tip over here. See if we can. Oh no! Nope! Too much! And yeah, okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Let's get rid of that stuff. I'm kind of curious if I can save this, just because I want to see if it's possible. We are going a lot slower. I don't know if those xenon engines will actually lift all of these batteries. Probably not. But hey, see what happens real quick. Won't take that long. Oh God, don't turn on the SAS. Did you see that thing wobble? It's like it's in a club listening to music that is awful. Sorry, I'm not a fan of. Well, it's techno. It's not dubstep. It's techno. I'm sorry to everybody that listens to dubstep, but it's techno. It was called techno like 5 years ago. That's what I knew it as. All right. Well, is this thing? I don't think this is actually helping us at all, so we might just get rid of it. Yeah, just get rid. Oh, don't hit us. Okay, that works too. Let's fire our xenon engines. Um. Hmm. Oh yeah, they're on. Okay, they are. Oh, and it's actually slowing us down. Holy crap! I don't think it's gonna slow us down enough to land, but it's not looking terrible. Wow. Hmm. I'm actually intrigued. Oh no! Oh, I didn't. I shouldn't have done that. Whoops. I was like, I should probably put out my solar panels so I can recharge my batteries. That didn't work. Damn it. Well, the atmosphere is still slowing us down, so that's good. So I'm going to actually see if we can land this thing because I am curious. We're slowing down. We're almost down below 100 meters per second. We are quite high. Oh, jeez. And I'm firing the engines, and I'm hoping that we're not going to drain our batteries completely. But it looks like we might actually be able to save this. I don't know. I'm just going to let the engines burn and see what happens. I mean, we are running out of time, and we are not slowing down quick enough, so I'm going to go ahead and say that this thing is going to crash. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's going to crash. Yeah, it's only slowed us down to 60 meters per second. Well, goodbye, sweet prince. Well, let's go to the. Oh, I didn't want to go to vehicle assembly. I just wanted to go back to launch. Damn. Whoops. All right. Let me try this again really quickly. Launch this again. Got a couple minutes left. Try to get this thing in orbit. Shouldn't take more than a minute or two. Okay. Load it up. Let's do it. Loaded. Let it settle. And there we go. SAS. Turn that off. Fire the engines again. And those Thor engines are really loud, so post-editing, yay. They are extremely loud in my headset live because I never turn down the sound effects in this game for some unknown reason. I always try to remind myself to do that, but I never do. Alright, this time, we're going to start turning now. See if that helps. Maybe get it out of the way early. See if we can just tilt over just enough to get it to start going off to the side here. There we go. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Yeah, we just gotta not tilt over a lot. That's essentially what we need to do here. I'm just tapping the key to get us to tilt over. When it starts going over easy, then we have the problem of cartwheels. We're looking good. We're looking good, guys. This actually looks like a pretty successful launch. I don't want to jinx it now, but it's not looking terrible. Alright, we are in the upper atmosphere. So we should be able to tilt over pretty much the whole way until our engines burn here, or burn out. There we go. Now let's see what our apoapse is. See? 179. I was right. I was just yeah. So cartwheel knocked off almost 100 kilometers to our orbit. So don't do cartwheels while you're going into orbit. I don't understand how it didn't survive the last launch, but the launch before that survived. I don't know. Whatever. We'll get rid of those. We'll fire our main engine here. Get away from these solid rocket boosters. Just enough to clear ourselves. We are already in the outers of space. So we're going to fast forward to our apoapse just before it, roughly. And we are going to tilt over to our prograde and get this thing into orbit. And before we get this thing completely into orbit, we're going to shed our fairings again, so that those fairings will go back into the atmosphere and burn up, so we don't have any debris going around Kerbin. That's one thing I hate, is when there's like lots of debris in orbit, or on escape trajectories. It makes that list in the space center or in the tracking center so freaking long. And I know you could turn off certain stuff, but every time you load in, it's not turned off, so you have to turn it off every time. It's just formalities, whatever. We're just gonna get this thing into a somewhat lower of an orbit, probably about just as soon as it hits, or as soon as we get another get our periapse up here. And should be like really soon. There it is. Okay, 20 kilometers. So let's move this guy down here. Shed those fairings, and for some reason it doesn't want to shed them. Oh wait, those are the wrong ones anyways. I shouldn't have. That would have been embarrassing. Alright, let's get those ones down here. Like that. There we go. Let's put our solar panels out. And fire our engines until we're up and out of the atmosphere here. I want to get it at least above 150 kilometers, because that's where I'm planning on putting our space station. So, alright. We'll figure out what we're going to do next. We'll probably launch another satellite next episode, and maybe start on our... we'll definitely get the last biome on the moon, because, I mean, we only got one biome left, so we'll have a launch next episode, and we'll have the last biome of the moon hopefully completed next episode, and then we can start working on Minmus and our space station. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this episode, be sure to drop a like at the bottom of the video. It does help out greatly, and your support makes me want to continue doing these videos, and it's just fun. It's super fun. And now that I've completed another series, I've got a series under my belt. I actually have a little more time to put into editing these videos and increasing the quality a little bit. So bear with me during this stage. So yeah, like I said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode of Kerbal Reach. And thank you guys for hanging out with me today, and I will see all of you next time.